The glass walls of Sterling Global were meant to symbolize transparency, but for Elena, they were a cage. At 26, she was the youngest senior analyst the firm had ever seen, but to her boss, Arthur Sterling, she was merely a ghostwriter for his success. Arthur was a man of expensive suits and cheap morals. He had built his reputation on the backs of brilliant minds he had systematically crushed. Elena had spent 6 months developing Project Phoenix, a revolutionary AI-driven market predictor that could save the firm from its looming bankruptcy. It wasn't just code, it was her soul. On a cold Monday morning, Elena sat in Arthur's opulent office. She had just finished the final presentation. "It's perfect, Elena," Arthur said, leaning back in his Italian leather chair, his eyes gleaming with a predatory light. "This will change everything. The board will be thrilled." "Thank you, sir," Elena replied, her voice soft. "I've included the documentation for the patent under my name as the lead architect, as we discussed." Arthur's smile didn't reach his eyes. Of course. But there's a small matter of restructuring. You see, Elena, the firm is under a lot of pressure. We need to cut costs." Elena felt a cold chill. "Restructuring? But I just saved the company." Arthur stood up, smoothing his tie. "You provided a tool. I am the one who will implement it. Unfortunately, your role has become redundant. Effective immediately, you are relieved of your duties." The room went silent. Elena couldn't breathe. "You're firing me? After I gave you Phoenix?" "I didn't fire you, Elena. The market did," Arthur sneered. "And don't bother about the patent. I've already filed it under Sterling Global. You were an employee. Anything you created belongs to me. Now, security will escort you out. Leave your keycard on the desk." 2 guards appeared at the door. Elena didn't cry. She didn't scream. She looked at Arthur, really looked at him, and saw the hollow shell of a man. As she was marched through the office she had saved, her colleagues looked away, too afraid for their own jobs to speak up. Arthur Sterling thought he had stolen her future. He had no idea he had just activated his own expiration date. The first year was the hardest. Arthur had used his influence to smear Elena's name in the industry, labeling her as unstable and difficult to work with. She was blacklisted from every major firm in the city. She sold her car, moved into a cramped studio apartment, and lived on raw men and determination. But Arthur had made one fatal mistake. He thought Elena's genius was in the code of Project Phoenix. He didn't realize that the real genius was the mind that wrote it. Elena didn't spend her time bitter. She spent it building. Using an old, battered laptop and public library Wi-Fi, she began working on Project Icarus. If Phoenix was meant to predict the market, Icarus was meant to dominate it. She worked 18 hours a day. She learned the languages of the dark web, the intricacies of offshore banking, and the hidden vulnerabilities of Arthur's stolen software. She knew Phoenix better than anyone because she knew its one secret flaw, a logic gate. She had intentionally left incomplete, a tiny shadow in the code that only she could see. While Arthur was busy taking credit for Phoenix on magazine covers, Elena was quietly gathering allies. She reached out to other ghosts, brilliant people Arthur had discarded over the years. Together, they formed a shadow entity, Icarus Ventures. They didn't need a skyscraper. They worked from basements and coffee shops, fueled by a collective thirst for justice. Elena wasn't just building a company, she was building a trap. By the end of the second year, Sterling Global was soaring. Arthur was hailed as a visionary. He had leveraged every penny of the firm's assets into a massive, high-frequency trading platform powered by Phoenix. He was untouchable, or so he thought. The anniversary gala of Sterling Global was the event of the year. Arthur stood on a stage in a ballroom filled with the city's elite, a glass of vintage champagne in his hand. "To the future," Arthur toasted. "To Phoenix, the fire that never dies." As the crowd cheered, every phone in the room buzzed simultaneously. A news alert had just broken. Sterling Global's algorithms show catastrophic failure. Billion-dollar losses in seconds. Arthur's face went pale. He scrambled to his tablet. The screen was a sea of red. Phoenix wasn't predicting the market anymore. It was attacking itself. The logic gate Elena had left behind had opened. The software was executing millions of sell orders for Sterling Global's own holdings. "Stop it! Shut it down!" Arthur screamed at his CTO, who was frantically typing. "We can't, sir. It's encrypted. Someone is overriding us from the outside." Suddenly, the massive LED screens in the ballroom, which had been displaying Arthur's face, flickered. They were replaced by a simple, elegant logo, a wing made of light. A voice calm and melodic filled the room. It was a voice Arthur hadn't heard in 2 years, but it haunted his dreams. "The sun is getting very close, Arthur. Can you feel the heat?" The crowd went silent. Elena's face appeared on the screens. She looked radiant, powerful, and utterly in control. "You told me I was a nobody," Elena said, her voice echoing through the gold leaf hall. "You told me my vision belonged to you. But you forgot that a thief can never truly own what he steals. He only holds it until the rightful owner comes to collect." "Elena, you're behind this. I'll sue you. I'll destroy you," Arthur roared, his composure shattering. "You can't sue a ghost, Arthur, and you can't destroy what's already gone," Elena replied. "As of 10 seconds ago, Sterling Global is insolvent. Your creditors have already triggered the emergency clauses. But don't worry, I found a buyer for your remains." A group of men in dark suits entered the ballroom. They weren't police. They were liquidators. "Mr. Sterling," the lead liquidator said, "Icarus Ventures has just purchased 51% of your debt. By the terms of your own contracts, all your personal assets, this building, your homes, your accounts, now belong to them. You are being evicted." The elite crowd moved away from Arthur as if he had a plague. Chloe, the socialite who had been clinging to his arm, slipped away without a word. Elena walked into the ballroom. The doors didn't just open, they seemed to bow to her. She walked through the sea of tuxedos and silk gowns, her eyes fixed on Arthur. She stopped inches from him. He was trembling, sweat dripping down his forehead. "You stole a project, Arthur," Elena said, her voice a mere whisper that felt like a thunderclap. "I built an empire. You used people to get to the top. I used the top to save the people you used." She reached out and took the champagne glass from his shaking hand. "You said I was redundant," she smiled, a cold, beautiful flash of teeth. "It turns out you were the one we didn't need." She took a sip of the vintage wine, then handed the glass to a waiter. "Please show Mr. Sterling to the service exit. He's familiar with how it feels to be thrown out." As the security guards, the same ones who had once dragged her out, now grabbed Arthur, Elena turned to the ballroom. "Tomorrow, Icarus Ventures opens its doors. We are hiring, and this time, the architects will keep their names." The rain began to pour outside, mirroring the night Elena was fired. But inside, the fire of Phoenix had finally died, replaced by the steady, unyielding light of a sun that wouldn't let anyone fall. Elena looked out the window at the city she now partially owned. The debt was paid. The vision was home. And the best part? She was just getting started.